Hi, welcome to the Oppie Pet Space. We're just waiting for a couple of other people to join us. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, it's so good to have you with us.
It's great to be here.
Just waiting for some of the other people to join and then we'll be ready to go.
Hey, how are you doing?
Hey,
Thanks for the invite. Really looking forward to this.
thank you for joining us. It's great to have you.
All good, all good.
Yes, I think people will slowly but surely start to join, but I guess we just really wanted to start this space to just talk about NFT London because I think that we all had a great time at NFT London. Like, I don't think anyone will deny that fact. But I think it's a really interesting time within the space that we've entered into now, because as Web3 is starting to grow and as we're starting to expand, it's how will IRL events start to change with how the space of Web3 is changing? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think is a really interesting thing that I found, I'm not sure about anybody else, was the fact that I ran into so many people that I knew. Did anybody else run into anybody that they know, like, that they didn't even know was going to be there, but they were like, oh my God, I know you guys?
Yes, I ran into lots of people. So I've been in the NFT space for about 3 years now. And I've got lots of friends who I've never met in real life. And a lot of them, I didn't know what they looked like because everyone's got a PFP. And it was just so lovely. And I think the connection I'll have with those people going forward will be much more genuine because I have met them and they are a real person.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Is I found it so weird. I was just like, I was at some events and I was just like, oh my God, I know you through your Discord handle. And it's so weird to meet you in real life and be able to put a face to the PFP.
Yeah, I think it kind of feels like actually the space is really small in some ways because you're constantly walking around. Like every event you go to, you suddenly meet loads of people you've just met online or at previous events. I think obviously London as well because myself, I'm from here. So there's certain people that I go to like every single Web3 event, whether it be like small ones, the one this weekend. And it really builds like a nice community. You go to anywhere you go, you know you're going to bump into like 4 or 5 people that you know, which is always really nice when turning up to anything.
Yeah, I think for me, it was my first event, so it was good not only just to sort of see, as you say, there were quite a few names that you see about on in sort of Twitter and in other areas, and you get to sort of see them speak and meet them in real life. But equally, I like the fact of the people and the various tracks are so broad, and I think that's both a positive and a negative in that you got to meet people doing lots of different kinds of projects, which was super useful in terms of as a learning experience. But I think there was a bit of a negative to that in terms of being able to get into some of the detail because there wasn't a lot of time allotted to a lot of the panels and to a lot of the talks. So there was a double-edged sword with regards to that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Alison, you wanted to speak?
Yeah, hi there. Thanks for the session. Really great conversation and topic. And I think I agree with what was said before around how you actually did keep bumping into people. So even though there are like 2,500 people in attendance, and there were like 6 floors, 8 different spaces, actually it was quite interesting how you would keep bumping into people that you knew. That is after you did get to know what they look like in person, because for some of them, as we all know, we've only ever seen their PFP and we've talked a lot with them, and then it's suddenly that kind of disclosure of then we meet them in real life. So once you do find those people, I was quite surprised at how you kept bumping into them. But I wonder if that also goes with you have those certain topics in common and therefore you ended up being on the same panels or going to the same panels. That probably influenced how much you did that.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. And it's part of the reason why I wanted to host this space today is because you run into all of these people and it's such an intimate experience, even if it feels very exciting because there's so many people, but also it's small enough to the point that you know people and you know who the community and the types of people that you're expecting. But as Web3 grows and as things like NFT London and NFT NYC are going to expand each and every year, what do you think Web3 events are going to look like once we're a group of 500,000 of us instead of 2,000 of us? Do you think we're still going to get those same experiences, or are they going to change?
Well, even though we will be a really massive community, I think we still then end up gravitating to the people and certain topics. So I still feel that we'll find those people that we're most connected to. But I wonder if actually how some of the events are framed or structured will need to grow as the community grows as well.
Yeah, I'd expect that you'd sort of have separate NFT events. So you'd have a music NFT event, you'd have an art NFT event, so on and so forth, rather than it all sort of being brought into this one arena.
Honestly, I think that would be such a great idea, because you saw so many of the stages at NFT London were like completely dead. And rather than having like a complete mix of everything at this one place, if you had it split up once the community is large enough, I feel like all the people there are really going to be interested in what you're saying. If it's, let's say it's about music, for example, if you're talking about music NFTs, your whole audience is there to listen about music NFTs. And I just feel like your attendance is going to be so much greater. Like, I don't know about what you guys thought, but a lot of the attendances to this year at NFT London specifically was dreadful, which if it was like specialized, I think could definitely change.
I think that's such an interesting take because I have such mixed feelings about that. As in one hand, I think it'll be so fantastic to have these specialized sub communities, but as a community manager myself, and we run working on a P2E game, is I found it so interesting to listen to other people's thoughts who aren't in our space. Is I was talking from people who are into NFT fashion, IRL, and it's these types of collaborations and these types of thoughts and ideas that you can only get from talking to people from outside of your remit. I wonder if how that's going to change.
I completely agree with that in terms of as you say, there's so much you can learn, across the different types of topics. But I think at the same time, for it to sort of, I think as a community, it works really well for us. But as a learning experience, and then potentially, when we're talking about as a conference in itself, I think it probably needs to be more specific.
If I can jump in too, because I think there is a enhancement to Web3 that we bring all the different like industries. I'm going to say that together, because I think by actually having fashion in an area which I would never have explored before, in the same place with creators or artists using NFTs, and then also with blockchain experts and finance. For me, I really feel that we've got to keep everybody learning from each of the different sectors and the different types of people with different views. Otherwise, what we could end up is we could have like creators in one space and then builders in another, and then what we build doesn't meet the needs of creators, and what creators want can't be built because the builders weren't listening or in those conversations. So I think for me, there's a real enhancement to what we grow as Web3, the more we have everyone.
Yeah, I would like to share my thought on this one as well. I totally agree. And based on, I think community is all about people, right? So to start growing in terms of like event and conference or even like meetup, we should start with at least from a small group of meeting between communities of each different projects, and eventually start growing from there. And I think if we can arrange something together from all over London or even in Europe, and do it as one, I think it would be great. I mean, in New York, it was a center of NFT and everything. That's why it was so big, and a lot of people just show up, and I think it's pretty organic, and they actually knew each other since before the event, and they just kind of started. Hey, look, there's an event there. Let's gather together and throw some parties and meet up and everything. I think we could do something similar to that as well here.
Definitely, I would definitely agree. I think it's about how we do it, because we've heard people talk about some of the rooms were really empty. And my colleague Nick, who came with me, or I went with him, there were 4 of us there at the event, and we all were interested in different elements. But he wrote a really good post about how there'd been a lot of criticism about it. And it's a shame, because it is really important that we celebrate that we all came together, and we came together from across the globe. But there is something about how we learn from it, because I was disappointed for some people who came from outside of the UK and then presented at panels that didn't have much of an audience. And they had really great ideas, and I just would have liked them to have had a bigger audience to share those with. And I think it's just about how we organise it, so that then when we're giving people a platform, that we give them enough time, and we don't put so much on so that people are dispersed too far. We kind of encourage people to go to, we have a fewer number of events, and therefore more will have a higher attendees. I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, can I just add, like, I did come from Canada to NFT London, and first I want to say, like, I was actually pleasantly surprised with the overall turnout at NFT London, just because it's like we're in a bear market. Like, I was at NFT New York last year as well, and I'll be at the next one next year as well. But I was pleasantly surprised in the sense that we're in a very bear market. There's jokes in the space that there's 2 people trading on OpenSea between each other. Like, the NFT market in general, we understand, like, the crypto market's in a bear market. The NFT market's an even more bear market. So I think that it's like, if we focus on, like, quality versus quantity for a moment, I think the people that did show up were some of the people who are, like, I guess you can say, the diehard fans, the supporters who are really believe in the future of NFT. So we had a booth there for our game, and people would come, and we had a consistent stream, and I found that the people that I was speaking with, me and the rest of my team, was really people who are, like, really in love with the space. And so, of course, we would love to have 100,000 people, 50,000 people show up, but I think focusing, like, I was not upset at all coming from Canada. Great panel speech, we had a great booth set up, everything was great. Overall, loved the experience. I would consider it a win. And I would say, like, the quality of the people that I met were definitely some of the people that are just in love with the space, been in it for so many years, and really want to see it grow.
Yeah, I'd like to add that I spoke on 3 panels on the art track, and maybe I was lucky at the time that they were scheduled, because my talks were quite well attended. And I think the organisers actually did quite well, because we had a few challenges. We had somebody who on the Friday morning, their father was taken ill, and they suddenly couldn't appear on the panel. So I kind of rejigged the questions, and I turned up at the stage, and then the organisers said, "Oh, look, we found this extra panellist, so you're back up to 4." And I was able to very quickly say, "Right, what's your expertise?" And they said advertising. I said, "Right, I'll ask you about advertising." And it, it worked seamlessly. And I think that they're maybe not given enough credit for their agility that was going on behind the scenes to make it run smoothly. I also think that I know about 58% of people who applied to speak were allowed to speak, which, it seems quite a high number, but you have to remember that web3 is brand new, and it should be giving opportunities for everyone. And I think people who spoke last week, this could springboard their speaking career. and give them confidence so that when they go to the next conference, they maybe do a better talk or a more professional talk, or they have more confidence. Because I think at previous NFT NYC events, some of the speakers went on to found Nifty Gateway or OpenSea or something like that. So maybe some of the talks weren't the best last week, but I think we're very early in the journey, and we should, excuse people for maybe not giving the best talk or not drawing in a large audience. Maybe the subject matter they were talking about, they're just too early.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. I think it's brilliant that 58%. I thought it was slightly higher, but I think that that's brilliant. There was so many people given the platform. And I also agree with you that I believe that next time people will show up differently, because each time you do speak, you learn and grow from it, especially when you've got a mixed panel of people who have done it before, and then those who are, I'm going to say, newbies to talking. We're all newbies to Web3, but newbies to the actual speaking. And I think that really is what we're about. I visited quite a lot of panels because I was there very early because of being more local. And some of the early ones, they definitely, people had been out partying or going to the socials, which was all really important and just as important for people. I think we could have started it slightly later, and therefore, if you were on the 8:30 slot, you would have had a greater chance of having more people if that was pushed to 10 a.m. start. But I agree with you. It's really important that we get everyone on the stage. The reason people were given the stage was because they have all different ideas, and we need all of those ideas to help us grow Web3 in the directions we need it to go.
Likewise.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up with that. I completely agree with what was just said in terms of giving people a space and a chance to speak, because some of the recent events I've been to, it's starting to feel more and more corporate in terms of who they're letting to speak, and the gatekeepers are starting to come in. So some of these events are starting to feel like the same old events, and it's losing that Web3 culture, which I think is really important to protect. If this is supposed to be about community and bringing new people in and taking down those old barriers and those old gatekeepers that were holding talented people out who didn't have the right connections, I thought NFT London did a good job in that regard, in letting people who wouldn't usually have the opportunity to speak, allowing them to have a voice. I thought that was really good. And going back to what Alison said, I think that would be a good idea to make some of the talks at a later time, because there's so many events going on and so many satellite events and side events and parties. Once it goes past the first day, I mean, I don't think anyone's waking up that early, or it's a bit difficult to wake up early. So if they moved times a bit later, I think that would be a positive step forward, and it will give more people a chance to listen, because most people I spoke to would have liked to listen to the early panels but just didn't make it in on time. So yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Actually, I would like to share that in New York, some of those speakers did show up at 9 a.m. To speak because he was party hard the night before. It wasn't epic, kind of epic, but yeah, totally agreed. Too early in the morning, people are not gonna show up, and if you party you went to the community to party together and everything, you're never gonna make it in the morning for sure.
Yeah, I think that's actually such an interesting point there that Turquoise brought up of the corporate, because it's one of the things that I noticed whilst there it was this really interesting dichotomy of corporate and degen that were suddenly meeting and having this exchange of thoughts and ideas of almost these two groups that you would never expect to see together. I think one of the most interesting things that I saw was almost somebody dressed up in the wildest outfit I've ever seen in my life, having a civil conversation with somebody dressed up in a really tight business suit. And I think that's one of the beauties of IRL Web3 events, is the fact that we can bring together these two communities of almost traditional TradFi, fintech, just exploring these new ideas, and these degens who are just almost now entering big business, but have these fantastic ideas and these fantastic communities behind them, and letting them mix and match. Whereas I don't think you'll ever find that in any other type of space, is these two different types of people coming together and learning from each other. And I think that's such a beauty of Web3.
Totally. I really agree. And I think it is important that we remember, if we want everybody in Web3, if we want Web3 to be the Web3 built by the people for the people, then we need to ensure that everybody is able to be in there. And for some, that will look different in terms of how they dress to be in that, but that we need to remember that this is about being all inclusive. And so we need not to move to those corporate events. We might need to move away from some of those degen events. We need a middle ground where we can have everybody included and everyone can feel like they belong. And that's the most important thing.
Yeah, we still need lawyers and we still need Web2 brands. So I think it's great that we have the degens in a location where they can speak to these people who bring a different, very valuable tool set.
Just to go quickly off, sorry, Alison, I was just going to go after your point there. I don't know if you went to VTron last year, but
No,
I
I
think that
didn't.
was the perfect mix of what you were just saying. It was genuinely unbelievable. Like, I couldn't, everything about it was so great, and it was the perfect mix between degen and also just super interesting talks that you came away feeling like you'd learnt loads, and they were long enough that you could actually gain so much information. Because 15 minutes is quite short by the time people have introduced themselves, said a bit about who they are, and then tried to teach you something. But they were given an hour at VTron, or half an hour, depending on who it was. And you came out of it feeling like you'd learned so much, and also were able to meet anyone from VC investors to complete degens, which was a great mix.
I really like the idea about longer sessions. I know that kind of is a challenge of how you give everyone a platform, but you kind of need those. I liked those quick, you've got 10 minutes. There was a lawyer, I don't know if anyone saw the session. The lawyer, he was fantastic. I met him in an elevator and he said, I got 10 minutes and oh my God, how am I going to get it all over in 10 minutes? And he did a poem. It was amazing. And he spoke poetry for 10 minutes and told all the points he wanted about Web3 and the new tools and the legal implications. It was really inspiring. And so something like that was great for 10 minutes. But then when you put 5 people on a panel, I mean, I went to quite a few where there were 6 people on the panel, all with very great things to say. But as you say, there was that moment of sometimes they spent too long maybe shrilling their project. And I know that's why people want to be there as well. But once you did that, there wasn't much time left. So if you had great moderators who we agreed on our panel, like 60 seconds to kind of shrill your project, and then we've got 4 questions, which a couple of people will answer each one. But it still goes so quickly. So a bit more time, I think that will be great. And people can get into a few more chunky issues, a bit more deep dive into them. That would be really good.
Yeah, do you guys think then that almost, because I found it such an interesting takeaway that most people seem to find the best thing about these events were just being able to be in the same room as people and just being able to mingle, that the almost put together panels and speeches wasn't what actually drove them there. It was that just being in a room with the people that you know and the people that you like, almost this co-mingling space. Like, do you think that maybe that some of the NFT London panels should just maybe be put aside as officially orchestrated Twitter spaces where you can get that same audience and you can possibly reach more people with such an official Twitter handle without but then that also allows people to then just mingle in the meantime, where it might be a week of Twitter Spaces and then a day of togetherness. Turquoise?
I thought one of the best parts of the event was actually meeting people in real life, because I find, well, this from my perspective, you end up in a circle with like-minded people on Twitter, because I mean it's natural to gravitate towards what you're doing. So I'm always in around people who are doing arts and photography, and I never really I didn't actually know there was like a fashion scene, music scene, all these different scenes going on. So I thought from that angle, actually meeting people in real life who were doing different things in the NFT and Web3 space, I found that brilliant, because I think sometimes we close ourselves off. So actually that exchange of ideas is, I think, where we grow as a community, and you also learn a lot. And there's also so many crossover ideas that you wouldn't have actually thought of if you didn't meet those people. So like just to summarize, I think meeting people in real life is so different to just having like meeting people on Twitter. You don't, when you meet someone in real life, you make a connection with them and you can feel their energy. And I mean, it sounds weird, but it's just so different when you meet people you've been speaking to every day on Twitter, or people you don't even know on Twitter. When you meet them in real life, that's completely different, and you take those connections with you, and you can build on that and really do something, and maybe build a tighter community in London. So I found that side of it. That was probably my best takeaway, like actually meeting all these people in real life, like non-fungible I met there. I went to the Slab event. That was really great, by the way. I'm sure there's a lot of people here that I met as well. So yeah, that's my take on that.
Cheers for that Twitch shout out. I'm really pleased that you enjoyed the event. Much love.
It was a fantastic event.
Thank you.
Non-fungible, then Alison.
Perfect.
Yeah, I was just gonna echo what Turquoise just said there. As you mentioned, we actually met each other at the event for the first time and it was that opportunity to just bump into people who were obviously doing their own projects, doing their own amazing things, and just being able to share ideas and gain an understanding as to what they were doing and how they were doing it. As a learning experience, I think that side of things, I probably say I took more from those individual conversations than I probably did from the panels. And likewise, it then leads on to that collaboration that Alison sort of mentioned, or that ability to sort of collaborate across industries, where you can take, you can form relationships that then lead on to potentially collaborating with someone who you might not otherwise have collaborated with. So yeah, I think from my perspective, I found that the most valuable and beneficial part of the actual conference.
I was going to go back to the point that you asked us around the Twitter space type ideas, to have dedicated sessions for that. And I think that's a really great way of getting people to meet, because if you think of the panels, you might have walked into the room with people you know, or you might have been there without people you know, and then you listen to the panel, and then there isn't really the time for the discussion because of just needing to get through the volumes of panels. And if you had a Twitter type space, for instance, if you regularly go to a Twitter space on a Tuesday morning and the conference is on a Tuesday morning, they could have some of those sessions. I know in New York, I wasn't there, but I attended a Twitter space that was live from New York that Cap and Steve did. And a lot of the feedback that people said is it was amazing because they suddenly saw people and what they looked like in real life, because they all had their headphones on in the room and they were all talking and listening. But when somebody spoke on the they could suddenly go, oh, that's what they look like. And they started to make connections as well. So I think that would be a really good idea to have it, even though you might have a group of people in a room all with headphones and mics. But I think that could be a good way to help you meet people you've probably been sitting in a Twitter space with for a long, long time, but you might not have actually ever met them in person.
Echoing on this part, there was a gala event, the gala games, that there was the conference in the States, and there was this girl who she was an influencer, and she did a live YouTube. A lot of people actually watched the event live from her, and they started to get feeling of the FOMO. And I think that was a great way to, attract attention from people and try to, do the branding, marketing, even if they're not making it, this year. Maybe next year is a good time for them to come.
I think it was Wacko then Sap. I'm so sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name.
I'm sorry.
Thanks. Yeah. Wacko Worms, yeah. Well, hello everybody. I think I met some of you at the conference. This is Ben Klein, founder of Wacko Worms. My overall thoughts on the conference are overwhelmingly positive. To have a speaker-led conference where there's so many people who were recruited to go out there and attend because they're all pioneering something, innovating something, doing something new, is something that's truly special and should be celebrated. Because I speak for myself, but I also speak for a lot of the people who I interacted with, where I made so many valuable connections and partnerships for the future of my project and different ways for it to turn. And in addition to that, our project is unique because we were cursed by a witch. So in terms of having people bring awareness to witchcraft in the blockchain, it's been incredibly special because of the feedback that we got of people looking to help. So overall, I'm sure a lot of you could agree, like my calendar's been packed this week with meeting after meeting after meeting with so many brilliant people, because in this bear market, it's the time where everyone is like, all right, it's time to shut up and actually use this tech that for a year or years we were talking about being the coolest thing and exciting thing and this and that. And now it's all the builders. A lot of people left away because the space has lost an element of its sheen, and it's time to really go after it and take the bull by its horns and do what we can. And what we can now is build and put ourselves in a position to prosper and succeed and adapt and change and augment this space for the next bull market.
Yeah, I actually had a chance to meet a whole bunch of people from our community who flew out to meet the team as well, and it was a super amazing experience. I actually still continue to call them by their Discord handle, but overall, I think we all need to consider that it's not just like NFTs that are in their infancy, so to speak. I think even these conferences, even these events are in their infancy as well, and they're going to continue to grow and they're going to continue to get better and evolve. So overall, that's how I feel about this event. I came back very positive as well, and I'm looking forward to the next one. And I'll be at NFT New York, and I think it's just going to keep getting better and better, and it's going to come to a point where market conditions or not, whatever, it's a bear market, bull market, it won't matter. It's just going to be an awesome event.
Yeah, I think that's such an interesting point, is the fact that we're early, and with that is our conferences are early and they're fun and they're wacky, and it's like we don't want to lose what it means for IRL meetup. But I think it's also interesting to see how it will change as we move forward. For example, we're developing a P2E game, so that means that it'll be really interesting as and when our game launches to then be able to meet someone and be like, hey, I battled with you. You're like the number one person who I'm constantly fighting against in RP Pet. And then you see them IRL, or you know them from the Discord. It's going to be so exciting to see what that will end up looking like. As a quick FYI, if you guys want to get an Oppie pet, we're currently doing a giveaway of Genesis pets, which will mean that our super rares. They're hopefully one day going to be very valuable. So yeah, it's all in our pin tweet if you want to head on over there at any point.
Where's the pinned tweet? Is it here or somewhere else?
I think she meant pinned on their own Twitter page, but you could also pin it in the space as well if you like.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that'll be cool. I'll go. Yeah. I'll have a look there then. I wondered if she meant here or there.
Absolutely. But it was cool to
Also,
see.
you guys are all awesome, and if we could ever collaborate in any ways, that again would be amazing, because I think that's one of the beauties of these Web3 and IRL events, and even these non-IRL events, is you talk to people and you love what they're saying and you just vibe with them and you're like, let's work together, let's figure out something that we can do together.
We are open to the collab for sure, 100%.
Yeah, it's a funny story, but like our project, like all our characters are other projects. So like our characters in our game are like Kaiju Kings, Project Gajira, Llamaverse Creeps. But there's this one project I always wanted to have like characters in our game for, which was Olivium. I was a huge fan of Olivium and what they're doing in the P2E space. And at NFT London, we got to meet the Olivium team, and we got to chat with them, and we're working on something. So just kind of shows how valuable that piece of collaboration is. It's like, here's this project for over 8 months. I'm like, I really want Olivium in our game. And finally we met the Olivium team at NFT London, and they were super excited to be a part of it, and we're gonna like try to work something out. But you're absolutely right, collaboration in the space just becomes so much more accessible in these events, as opposed to a Discord message or a Twitter DM. You go in there, you talk in person, IRL, you meet the right people from the right teams, and so much progress can happen at these events for individual projects as well. It's very valuable.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it also comes down to what's the best way of proving that you're not a bot? Being somewhere physically.
Or a rug.
That too. Although, admittedly, if I ever met a bot at one of these events and it convinced me it was human, do you know what? I would want to collab with it anyways.
Well, it's really good. I think also for me, one of the great things about the event, which is why it's so good to have the diversity, is I'm not a gamer. Doesn't mean I'm not going to go check out your game, but I met with a group called the Fashion League, and I'm also really not that fashionable really, but literally I was inspired by them because they are a game, and they're a game for young girls, and I just felt that if I hadn't been there, if I hadn't been talking to them, I wouldn't have met them, and I wouldn't have seen what a great tool this was, and want to promote it to educationists across the globe to really help young girls know that they can get into Web3 and they don't have to be into tech, or they don't have to be into finance. They can be into the creatives. They can want to be a fashion designer and do that. I just thought it was a really different way. And that's not me saying that we don't need to get more women into tech and finance. We need that. But we also, the beauty of Web3 is that you don't have to be an expert in those areas to be in it. We just need to help everybody understand that more so they can all come in. And so I really loved seeing the difference, which, as I say, I wouldn't have seen, because sometimes we end up in our own echo chamber, don't we, of the things we like, the things we do. We listen to the people that we like what they say. So it's really great for events to take you out of that comfort zone and to see something new, because that actually enhances your life.
I'd love to add on to that, and I think this Web3 space, the people in it are so open and so willing to meet new people. I mean, just at the time, like your little event we held, my parents were there, and obviously they're not Web3 natives. They just hear about it through me. But they had so many amazing conversations. People were just so lovely and like happy to just talk about Web3, the space, teach them about what it's about, what they're doing. And yeah, it's such a nice area to be in at the moment, whilst it's growing so rapidly as well. And just, yeah, it's a really, really lovely place to be. And that's, I think, something that you don't get if you go to the equivalent Web2 conference or something else.
I think, again, that's such an interesting point with your parents, because I think what's so interesting is the fact that currently in the space is we have our own little hierarchies and stuff, but for the most part is we're very open, and as long as you're into the space, you are one of us. because my parents actually are Web3 natives. I got into Web3 because of my dad. And with that is he's 60, but yet he's still welcomed in with one of the degens and welcomed in with everybody my age and above and below, because he knows and he's excited about the space. And I love the fact that that's the only thing that's really holding you back from the space is this something that interests you? If you aren't passionate, that is the one turn off currently in the space. But it's not your age, it's not your race, it's not your gender, it's not your wealth, it's passion. And I love that.
Oh yeah, no, I love that you were there with your parents. I am often, I'm quite old, so therefore it's quite good to see such a diversity of age. I really, really like that, because I think we have masses to learn as an older generation about the tools and of Web3 and how that can enhance our lives. And I think it's the great thing that young people can help us learn. But I also think that as an older generation, we have some different experience that we can also bring into the Web3 world in terms of working with innovators and creators and helping them grow and develop. So I think it works both ways. So it's really great. And I noticed you're from film. I didn't get your name. It says Slab Pass. I feel a bit rude saying that, but you're into film, so that would be really cool. I used to do a space with Sherry, who was in here, who was also into film and is a film producer in the States. I was going to link you with her. So there we go.
Oh, thank you, Alison. Yeah, my name's Aaron. I'm actually just a consultant on this project. There's a team of founders who are directors and producers, but I'm just here tonight to have a chat. But yeah, would love to connect with you afterwards, and yeah, talk about film and anyone else. And if I can help in any way, I'd really love to.
Wacko?
Yeah, so if we're talking about film, film 3 is such an interesting space right now because I think it's the least developed vertical. When compared to other arts like, paintings, digital art, music, film, it has not been developed as much as these other ones. However, I feel super confident that it will be probably, one of the biggest whales in terms of these different verticals. So originally Wacko Worms, we were filming a documentary of, our process, but of course, things went south, but nevertheless, we released our footage. So my project, we actually have a film out now where it's our pinned tweet. You guys could check it out. And in this film, we're trying to solve a mystery, and we're recruiting our community to help us figure out what caused the apparent curse of our smart contracts by a witch. So that's kind of what we're about and how we're doing, our part in connecting stuff to film, because we, there's an issue. It's real footage in this movie. So we're really asking our community to watch the film and, get back to us if they picked up on anything that we missed.
Yeah.
It seems that it seems that there are a lot of people in the film Web3 film in this Twitter space. Our project is actually related to film as well. So our company is actually originated with a Web2 that's doing animation, cartoon animation, and we have several cartoons on Netflix already, and we started to move into this Web3 just because we see the opportunity here as well. So maybe, I don't know, like later on, let's do something together, do some collaboration.
Definitely, yeah. It's like I said, it's a small space. We got to look out for each other. A win for any of us is a win for all of us because it just helps progress the niche.
Could not agree more. I know we've got some AMAs or just Twitter spaces coming up. Would love you guys to come on, or if we could come on to any of yours, and hopefully just join our communities together and just chat about the potential in NFTs in Film 3 and where this space can go.
Yeah, totally, 100%. Please invite us.
Yeah. Looking forward to that for sure.
Again, this is what I love about Web3 and the current space is we are also into the arts. Is one of the things that we really focus on is making sure that none of our character designs are procedurally generated and that everything's completely hand-drawn. We actually have a hero trailer out, which we spent a long time developing, of showing almost as a little film about what we're up to. But I love the fact that we can use these art styles and almost collaborate with each other. Is I see that Valeria Games are in here, which again is P2E, is if anybody wants a collab. It's such a fantastic space to be in order to be able to talk to each other about what we're doing, find our people, and just come together, because we're a small community, and I feel like sometimes, especially in this bear market, it's so easy to forget that we're early and that things are going to pick up. And sometimes it feels like the space is just really overwhelming. And then you end up talking to people and you realize, wait a second, no, it's not. And there are so many people. There might be several bad actors in the space, but there are so many more good actors. And the second you start talking to people, you realize who they are, what they're about, and how to get involved with each other. And I just love it.
It's funny that you say that, because if you imagine the kind of collaborations that take place in the 3.0 space, they would be, I want to say, almost logistically impossible in the 2.0 world. You'd never get two big companies who just come together in a Twitter space like this and say, hey, let's work together. There'll be paperwork, there'll be legal, there'll be documents, there'll be this, there'll be that. So we definitely are in a unique opportunity in the space where it's like everyone is kind of in that startup phase, the build up phase. Everyone's expanding and growing their communities. Everyone's helping each other. And I hope that continues 5 years from now, when certain projects do become huge and certain projects do blow up and establish themselves in the 2.0 space as big companies and big players in the space. I do hope that they continue to do that. But just at this moment, it's absolutely amazing to see projects working together, even though they're technically building in the same space. Like, for example, us, like you were mentioning, we're both in the GameFi space. We don't see each other as competitors, because we understand that the pie is so big, and we're not even looking at taking a fraction out of the gaming industry, for example, or the movie industry, for example. We're not even talking about a fraction here. So there's no point viewing one another as competitors, because we're not. At this point, everyone's just looking to help and support one another, and that's valuable. And I do hope that as the space grows, that's something we can kind of cling on to and hold on to, because as we do grow and we take a bigger piece of the pie, it would be awesome to see that's kind of stick around as one of the things that kind of really truly separates the 3.0 from the 2.0 is the willingness to collaborate.
No, 100% on this. I am truly believe in the ability to interoperable, and that's the heart of the NFT. I think that if you have one NFT, it should be able to go to any metaverse or any projects and still be valuable, and that's gonna happen if we can collaborate. And like you said as well, like in Web2 it's very hard. It's so hard to do, but in Web3 we are here. We are all here, and we are a small group of people that can still make a big impact to this industry. Yeah, totally, 100%.
And I think for me, that's the beauty of the mindset element of Web3, isn't it? It's that decentralization, that real concept of actually it's not about one company growing and getting bigger and bigger and owning everything. What we want is we want everybody to have a piece of the pie. Yeah, the same as we want people to own their own data, be able to decide how they want to use that, disclose the bits they want. But actually what we want is we want to use Web3 as a vehicle to make so many more things accessible and to ensure that we have a much more diverse group of people leading and building together. And I think everything that Sharif just said, that Web3 has its barriers down. There is this open, welcome, come tell me about your project. We even have shield spaces. Everyone can say what their project is, so people can learn who's in the same field as them, who's in a field close to them. But actually that's often based on the premise of how can I connect with them? How can I gain from something they're doing, or how can they gain from something I'm doing? And I think I so agree that we've got to keep hold of that as we grow, the desire for collaboration, to do things together to benefit the whole. For me, that's really what our collective drivers should be. And I think it's really, really brilliant how everybody is about collaboration, because as was also just said, there is so much opportunity out there. Even if we've got exactly the same product, there's still oodles of people out there who want that. So it's really important.
Yeah, totally agree with that. And that's why I think, just to tie it back to London, um, the IRL factor is something that given our high tech space, you forget about how powerful, meeting someone in person, looking them in the eye, seeing their face, shaking their hand, talking to them, eating a lunch with them. It really goes a long way in terms of feeling that personal connection. And now, I've had video calls with people that I've met, and those video call, you're not talking to a face on a screen. You're talking to, oh, that's Mr. or Mrs. X, or you know who they are, and you understand their vibe and what they stand for. And that's why I think events like NFT London are super valuable. But also, you can't even meet everybody there, which is why I hope to set up a call with some of you guys in case I missed you in person in London, just to make the connection. A lot of people, they go into calls with an agenda or with a business goal or this or that. I think we need more in this space of people hopping on a call just to meet, just to talk. We all know there's more than enough to talk about in this space going on these days. And it's all about, talking face to face, learning people's perspectives, how they feel, their approach, because everybody has a unique approach and a unique perspective to everything that's going on. So I think that authentic connection that's facilitated deeply in an IRL event is something that we should strive for, regardless of where we are.
Yeah, completely agree. And I also think it's, again, one of the beauties of Web3 is, even if you did go in with a business idea, is the collabs and how we collab doesn't necessarily need to be of, is it going to be beneficial to my business, but is it going to be beneficial to my community? For example, us doing a P2E game is, we have a lot of people who are into art, and we have a lot of people who are into gaming, and it's like things like film and gaming often go together. So it could be that, hey, my community might really like what your community is doing, so we should collab because that's what will interest them. It's like these types of ideas and these types of things, it shouldn't just be limited to do our projects work together, but it's, do our communities work together? Will people be interested in one and the other at the same time? Because there's plenty of space for the both of us. So why not just introduce our communities to each other and help each other grow in that aspect?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think there's so much crossover in all different parts of Web3. I mean, I've definitely bought lots of different art NFTs, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't be just as excited myself to buy a gaming NFT, a film NFT, a music NFT. I think there's so many different crossovers, especially with gaming and film. One of the things we're doing is building an immersive studio, and that uses Unreal Engine technology. Just as we see gaming and film and interactive experiences just become closer and closer, I see that being used more and more, even just in reality.
Yeah, actually, on that point, it's very interesting because when we were trying to put our team together, it's obviously very difficult for us. We got our team together, but getting a team of talented animators and illustrators is really complicated. Imagine having someone in the 3.0 space who can handle that for you. Like, everyone here wants to make an amazing trailer or whatever the case may be. How cool would it be to have a 3.0 company whose primary objective is to assist other NFT projects with these things, as opposed to us kind of going into the 2.0 space and finding people in there to do it, which is what we had to do. We built our own team, but it would have been amazing if there could have been an established team already in place that we could have kind of leaned on and said, okay, here's our project, here's what we want to do, here's everything, here's all the details. Do you want to take us on? Or whatever the case may be, and then there's an established team in place who has everyone in place to do all of those things. So who knows, the development, if you want to make a video game, there could be an NFT 3.0 web3 company who helps NFT projects, makes those games, and that's their primary objective. And they got the scales of economy, and they got a strong team set up, and that's what their kind of focus is. So there's just so much opportunity for growth in the space, and putting a strong team together and then having that willingness to collaborate and help others in the space. it's mutually beneficial. So I think there's definitely a lot of opportunities going forward, and NFT London was just the start. I mean, obviously I was at NFT New York, and NFT New York had more people, but again, I was pleasantly surprised at NFT London. Our team had 4 people manning the booth, and at no point, unfortunately, was I able to walk away from the booth and have a chance to go to other booths, and because there was just a consistent stream of people coming in. So just kind of going back to NFT London, I think it depends on what your expectations were, but when we went in, we were completely blown away. Obviously, there are things that they can improve on, and I hope that NFT New York, they kind of capitalize on some of the feedback that everyone kind of mentioned in this space. But overall, I would say it was an amazing experience, and it opens the door for collaborations, which is so important for the space.
We need one of those hand clappers now, don't we? Like, there's been so many good things said. This is it.
I appreciate that. I love that.
Well, guys, I'm going to have to jump off, but it's been really lovely. Thank you for the invite to join the space. I have met again some lovely people. Please do connect and let's jump on. And as I totally agree, you don't have to have coffee for a specific purpose other than to say hello. And then you might find something that you've got connections in, or you know someone who also will be connected to them. So absolutely. So thank you very much. It's been a really lovely hour.
Cheers, Alison. Great to meet you.
Yeah, thank you so much for hopping on. And yeah,
Cheers.
yeah, it's just been fantastic. And I think it's actually quite a nice wrap-off spot. But yeah, if any of you guys want to just hit us up in the DMs, then absolutely, let's just figure out a way to collab. Or if nothing else, let's just have a chat in order for the sakes of having a chat, because I think that's the biggest takeaway that I think we can all agree is from NFT London, is being able to just talk to people is refreshing, and you end up learning things that you didn't even know that you needed to learn.
Love that. I love everything.
Yeah, so thank you all so much for joining, and I hope to speak to you all again very soon to just talk.
Thanks so much for hosting the space. It's been great to chat to you all and meet you all. Take care, everyone.
Have a good day.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.